Welcome to the Underestimated Voices podcast, where we amplify the unheard and empower the underestimated.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Underestimated Voices podcast. I am your host, Wetson, and I hope you have set your projections for 2025. Happy New Year, Happy New Month, and today I am thrilled to introduce an extraordinary talent who embodies creativity and resilience. I have a guest. Her writing is a testament to her belief in self-worth and empowerment for women. Today, we'll dive deep into her journey, her creative process, and the inspiring messages behind her work. She is the writer of I Am Enough. That's a beautiful piece. Before we get to talk to her, let's listen to her poem, which was recited by Dennis Sutazulu, commonly known as Professor DSZ. It's called I Am Enough, written by Doreen Mwenda.
In the depth of the night right before dawn, when the sun slumbers while you slumber deep in sleep, turning side by side while sniffing your bathings with pleasure, I scramble with rag and tears stream down my cheeks like the Victoria Falls. Only my pillows and the walls of my room hear my endless woes. I attempt to wipe my tears with my fingertips, but they run down to my palm. My teen heart tears apart when it hits me back to the reflections of being a woman, to the notion of not being valued for my grins of giving my whole as a woman, to the notion of being underrated like I cannot run the earth, yet Eve took care of Adam in the Garden of Eden. I was created the second, but I can cast out the first. I deserve to be applauded for my efforts. I deserve to be applauded for my desire to make this universe a fairer place for us all. I strive for perfection. I am a woman. I am enough.
Listen to that amazing piece. She is a creative. Trust me. That work touched me. That's why no wonder I brought her to this podcast, so that we are able to inspire someone out there who wants to join the poetry industry. And she is a Copper girl. She is from the Copper Belt, born in the Copper Belt, raised in Lusaka, and she's a teacher in the northern side of Zambia. You know, in Zambia, Copper Belt is considered as a nation, because everything with them is just on a different level. Music-wise, talent-wise, education-wise, everything is just something different. Ladies and gentlemen, never call her Dodo. She doesn't like being called Dodo. She prefers being called D or Miss D. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, give your digital hands to Doreen Mwenda.
There's this thing where people love to cut names. Do you really get annoyed when people call you Dodo or something like that?
I don't like Dodo. I tell them that if they should cut my name, they should call me D, not Dodo. Dodo just sounds, I don't know, it doesn't sound. Okay, in Zambia, it's a thing. I think it's part of our culture to cut names. But sometimes when we cut names, we cut it wrongly. Let's learn to cut names in a beautiful manner.
There's no way that a name can be cut and it sounds nice.
Dodo, Dodo, D.
Okay, with that being said, in a few words, who is Doreen Mwenda?
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. Sometimes I tend to forget some of the things that make up this Doreen Mwenda. So I hope I don't leave out any important detail. So Doreen Mwenda is I'm Zambian. I have grown up in Zambia and I was born in Zambia. I was born in Kitwe before we moved to Lusaka. So I'm a Kopala girl. Sometimes people tend to ask how my Bemba is so good because they tend to think that I've grown up in Lusaka. I was born in Kitwe. So, like, Bemba was the first language that I learned before Nyanja and probably before English. So, I'm a teacher librarian by profession. I teach English language and I also run the school library. I work from the northern part of Zambia in Luwingu, but my home is in Lusaka. I'm just working from northern province. So I get to go that side and then I come here when schools are closed, just like that. So apart from me having my full-time job, which is me being a teacher, I'm also involved in other things. For example, I work with the Zambian Arts Publications, which now changed its name to Zambian Arts Publishing House. So I work with them as their public relations manager. I help with running their Facebook group page and attend to public queries when they can't reach out to the CEO, they can reach out to me. Aside that, I also work with Zambia Best Poets. This is just a group of young poets that are interested in poetry and improving their poetry skills. So there are times we tend to have online contests mostly. So what I do with Zambian Best Poets is the more like the same thing I do with Zambian Arts Publications, just helping with running their Facebook group page here and there. And then, of course, attending to public queries. Okay, there's so much about Doreen. Then also at the moment, I'm also working with the Journal of African Youth Literature. This is an online publication that is more interested in African young youths that are enthusiastic about literature. So I joined the team as a content intern because of this content creation thing, because I also have interest in content creation. I love creativity, just blogging and vlogging. So like last year, I won the Talimwanza Ngoma contest, the contest that was based on creating content that was promoting the Ngoma Awards. So I happened to be the winner in that space. And I think since that award, I've received quite a good number of opportunities. And it also helped me to realize that content creation is an important part of my life and I should not look down on it, because I remember when I was participating, I sort of looked down on myself. I didn't think I would even win. I didn't have much confidence in myself until I was announced as the winner. The other thing that I'm passionate about is women empowerment. I'm interested in personal development, especially looking out for the girl child. I just love seeing women winning. I love to see women win, women doing better, because mostly the society looks down on women. They think that there are certain things that women can't do, but I want to see a world where women are going to be appreciated and to be given opportunities that they get to miss at times because no, she's a woman, she can't do this, she can't do that. So I'm looking forward to a society like that. So because of that, every now this year I have been hosting a ladies talk show, which is based on just discussing different topics surrounding women. Like my first topic was based on abuse in relationship. Now my next topic will be based on becoming the best version of yourself as a woman, and that will be held in January. So, and then the other interesting part about Doreen Mwenda is that I am passionate about books. I have been reading from the time I was young. I think my mom used to buy me books when I was very young, so I grew up like that. I grew up befriending books, and I grew up just knowing that, okay, if I'm not doing something, I should read a book. So I have grown up like that. I have grown up to love books. So most of the times, if you had to check my content, most of my content is even based on books, especially promoting Zambian authors. As we know, the reading culture in our country is poor, and it's up to you and I to make it better. So then how do we make it better? We have to start by promoting our own Zambian authors, because firstly, people tend to think that Zambian means, in fact, some people don't even know that we have books that have been written by Zambians. I found it valuable to start promoting my fellow Zambian authors. Of course, I read other books as well. In fact, let me confess, I started reading Zambian books last year when I joined Zambian Arts Publications, because now I was more involved with Zambian books. I was exposed to Zambian books. So when I read some of the Zambian books, I realized that actually our country is talented. So now we have to bring those books to light, and we have to make other people realize that there's talent in our country.
So, what is unnecessary to you, but people find it very necessary?
What is unnecessary to me that people find necessary?
Yes.
All right. So sometimes when I when I look at my poems or my writings, sometimes I feel like they are not good enough until another person would say, no, actually this is a nice poem. Actually, you can do actually you do better in this, you do better in that. Even when it comes to the short stories. Like sometimes when we have submissions, we're submitting our short stories, sometimes I would feel like, is this good enough? Like when we're submitting the poems, that poem that I submitted to the International Women's Human Rights Art Movement, I was looking down on my poem. I was thinking it's not good enough. So even when they were announcing the people that were shortlisted, I didn't really pay attention because I was like, we have a lot of people that are coming from different countries who contributed towards this anthology. So what makes me think my poem is good enough? And then I just received an email saying, oh, your poem was also shortlisted. So it was only then that I realized that, okay, so I'm also good enough, though sometimes I tend to look down on myself.
Yeah. And my first question, it is this: how do you define self-worth, and how has it shaped your personal story from like what you have spoken before?
All right. To me, self-worth is it's part of self-love. It's part of self-love. It's self-care. Just like what I mentioned when I said that times down on myself because I thought I was not good enough for certain things, until I realized that, okay, actually I was just looking down on myself. I actually qualify for those things. So self-worth is when you tend not to doubt yourself, but you put yourself there among those very people that you think they're better than you. You also put yourself there and get to realize that you're also among them, and you can also do what they can do, and perhaps you can even bypass them, because that is what self-worth is all about. You tend to look at yourself in the mirror and you see this important girl, this important boy in you, and like you seeing the negative part of you. So it's also like you seeing the more positive side of you than the negative side of you. So to me, from the time I won the Mtalimwaza contest, I think that's the very time that I started to believe that I am worth than what I think, and I can do whatever I want to do, and I can achieve whatever I want to achieve, just as long as I put my mind to it and I have this self-confidence in me and the self-esteem. The moment I tend to look at other people and tend to think that they can do better than me, then I'm degrading myself, and my self-worth might begin to fade away. So to me, self-worth is you valuing whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're passionate about, without relying too much on how other people are doing it. Because the moment you tend to do that, you might start to lose confidence in yourself.
Okay, that's quite interesting. What inspired you to write your poem, I Am Enough? Despite I know that obviously there was someone that had looked down upon you, that had underestimated you, but what motivated you to write that lovely piece? And I hope I can have it.
Yeah, of course you will have it. So, firstly, so you know how that poem came. There's this poet from Uganda. Her name is Zena Makanwanji. So Zena came in Zambia, and when she came in Zambia, the person that she had gotten in touch with was Eric, the president for Zambia-based poets. When he got in touch with her, he invited me to say, oh, there's this poet coming from Uganda. She reached out to me, and then she said she would like to see me, so I don't think I would want to go alone. Would you come with me? So we went, the three of us, to meet Zena, and then during our discussion, Zena suggested that she wanted us to really record a poem before she left, and she suggested that this poem should be based on gender equality. So when we wrote that poem, that's how
Okay.
that I Am Enough poem came about. But when I first wrote it, it wasn't like that. It was written differently. And then I just kept it. And unfortunately, we weren't able to record the poem because she had to go back due to time. So I just kept it with me because she said, no, I'll come back. So when I come back, we can get back to this poem. So when I kept it, because I always keep my poems, and then there are times I would go back to them, I revise, I change a few things here and there. So then one day I came across the advert for the International Human Rights Art Movement, where they said that they were calling for submission of anthologies on the book that they were coming up with. The title of the book is Her Rights, Her Stories, and they were looking for stories about women's rights, anything to do with women's rights. If you're just in support of women, it can be a story, it can be a poem. So I thought of participating, and then I thought to myself, I was like, there's this poem I have that is talking about gender equality. So then what if I just look around it and then I make a few changes? So that's how I got back to that poem, and then I just changed a few things. Then I found it was suitable for the submission. But before I submitted, of course, I had to get feedback from some other people in my circle. There's a certain group we have where we submit poems and then they will give you feedback. So that is what I did. And then I was given feedback. I changed a few things here and there. Of course, when I was writing that poem, I was looking at myself and I thought, this poem should inspire a woman out there. I know there's a woman who thinks she's not enough. There's a woman who has been devalued, and there's a woman who has been denied certain opportunities because she's a woman. So I thought to myself, by submitting this poem, if at all my poem is going to be selected, one day this woman who feels she's not enough and she's not appreciated in the society that she's living in, she's going to find inspiration in it. And of course, even I myself, when I submitted the poem, I also thought about, the time I won the Mtalemwaza contest. People were talking. So people said I deserved the award because they didn't know me. They thought it was about popularity and whatnot. So some of those things came
Mm.
on my mind, and I thought, I'm enough. It doesn't matter if they don't know me. You don't have to be known for you to win something. It's about what you're bringing to the table. Is it valuable? So all those things came running in my mind, and I thought I felt comforted by writing a poem like that because I thought I communicated even to the people that were saying I did not deserve that award. So that poem is meant for anybody who is feeling like she's not appreciated, no matter what she does, no matter what she gives to the society, they don't clap for her, they don't value it. So sometimes you don't have to wait for people to clap for you. You have to clap for yourself. Even if they don't clap, just clap for yourself.
It is very important. A lot of people seek validation, which is very much unnecessary. How do you believe in creativity and writing? How can they empower women, especially those that feel inadequate in things that they do?
Okay. So I always tell people that first of all, the most important thing is authenticity. Like whatever your writing is based on, just make sure that it's authentic. Make sure it's your original work because this is where creativity comes in. So if you've been copying other people's poems, you've been copying other people's short stories, and then you just fuse in a few things and then you lie to the public that that's your work, to me, that's not creativity. Creativity is about you creating your own thing. You're sitting down, you sit down, and of course you have to struggle because you're being creative. So obviously it has to take you round and round. You have to
Mm.
think, okay, this is what I want to do. How am I going to do it? How do I do it? How are the people that I want to present this thing to going to see it? Authenticity is the most important thing that I value the most. You know, on Sunday I was attending a poetry show and I was telling the poets, I was invited as a guest speaker. So I was telling them to say these poems that you're performing, ensure that they are written by you. Don't go and steal other people's poems, then you perform them here, you lie to us that no, this is your poem. You're not being creative and you're killing your creativity and you're killing the talent that you have in you because that work doesn't belong to you. So to me, I really value creativity. I really value authenticity. It's better you write a piece that you're not sure of, but as long as it is written by you, even if it's not good enough, as long as that piece was written by you, then you're being authentic and you're being creative. But a situation
Mm.
where you copy other people's work and claim that the work is yours, then to me, I don't think that's talent because talent is all about being creative. You're using your mind. In fact, you have to put your mind to work. So if your mind has not been working, then you're not being creative because creativity is about thinking. Whoever came up with Facebook had to sit down and think. He thought about how he can connect the whole world, not physically, but virtually. So that is creativity. So we have to clap for Mark Zuckerberg. So we need creatives like those people that are authentic. So the moment that you're authentic, people will begin to notice you because they're going to see something unique about your work. They are going to see something that defines you, even without being told that that piece was written by you. People that are familiar with your work, they should be able to tell this, this looks like Doreen's writing because there's something in it that defines you. So now, when you're not being authentic, it means it's even hard for people to know your work because yeah, you're just copying. Today you copy from this one, tomorrow you copy from another person. So that's where I don't think you can even really go far as a writer or as a poet because you're not, there's nothing that is defining you in your writing. You know, when we look at Anna Ziambo's poems, there's something about them, and that thing about them is that they are short. So sometimes we'd laugh in the group and say, if it is not short, then it is not Anna's poem, you see? So that is what defines Anna's poems. There's something unique about her poems, and that is the way she writes them. They are short, and then there's this pattern that she uses. So that is what people want to see in writers and in whoever is into content creation. That uniqueness should be in it. They should just look at your work and say, this belongs to Doreen. They should not see something that belongs to me and then they should see it belongs to Doreen. Tomorrow it belongs to Walia. The other day it belongs to John. Let it belong to Doreen and let it have Doreen's painting on it. So to me, creativity is about being authentic, it's about being real, it's about you using your knowledge, your mind without copying other people's work.
Okay. Do you also write in like local language?
Not really, no, not, but maybe just maybe just a line. Like there's an anthology that we're working on as Zambian arts publishing house writers. So one of the poems that I submitted has some lines that are in Bemba. So I'm at the moment I'm unable to write throughout, but I love to mix. Just I get some lines, I mix with Bemba, mostly Bemba because I find it more easier to to write in Bemba. And yes, there's another anthology that will be coming out by the one that will be published by Copa Monstera. So that one was a short story that I submitted. So in my short story, there are times I use some local language in it, and that's Bemba. I think there's some also Nyanja in it, so you'll be able to see. I try to mix Bemba and Nyanja as well as English. So I love to do this because I love to appreciate the culture in our country. I'm proud to be Zambian, and I would want I just want to be to be promoting our culture. That is a way of me promoting my culture, our Zambian culture, by mixing our local languages.
Okay. By the way, I am a podcaster by night. Then during the day, I am a digital content producer. So there was a time that I was doing some work for this publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw this man, he was promoting local language writing, as in books. And then so many people had declined that offer. The question that I have is that how does culture influence our writings as Zambians, especially? Does it even have any effect or impact upon our lives?
Okay, yeah, I think it does. Actually, not I think, but it does. I'll give you an example. Have you read any Nigerian book?
Most of them, they are spiritual books that I have come across. Not
You've come across, but have you heard of this famous book by Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so you find that Chinua Achebe pens the Nigerian culture. We're able to see the Nigerian culture in that book. And it's not only Chinua Achebe. When you read most of the Nigerian books, most of the books are based on their culture in the village, what happens in the village. Maybe a girl from the village goes in town, what happens there. Same applies to, I've read a few of South African books. They also base their books on their culture. They try to bring out in their books. So now the problem I have seen in our country, sometimes people fear to write about our culture. Sometimes people prefer writing about, not all people, but some people prefer writing about America. They've never even been there, but they want to write a book about this girl who is who is living in America. So there was a time I attended a storytelling workshop, and we were taught that the best stories are those stories that you write about the things that you've seen, the places where you've been, and the things that you've done. And obviously, that is our culture. I mean, if I'm Zambian, why should I be afraid to write about the Zambian culture? Because these are things that I see. We have a lot that's happening in our country. So there are so many things that we can bring out in books and tell people the Zambian stories through books. That is more like we are promoting our culture, but sometimes people find it. I don't know if it's so hard, so difficult, or maybe they just don't feel the need to express our Zambian culture in the books. Like you've said, that someone offered to say they wanted the book to be written in the local language, and then people turned down the offer. So okay, sometimes it's a bit hard to to write in local language continuously, but the truth is that some Zambians are afraid to write about the Zambian culture. So we really need to promote our Zambian culture in every way, including in movies. We cannot be acting as though we live in America when we live in Zambia. We want to see things that happen in Zambia. We want to see our Zambian culture being written in books, being acted in movies, being told even in songs. We want to see our culture being promoted that way, just like the way our other friends in other African countries do it. So if they can do it, then why can't we do it as a country?
What advice would you give for women, especially, to have a mindset change, especially when it comes to being a creative writer? Because I've noticed like most women would love to be content creators, as in, they're busy twerking and all that, and it's quite embarrassing, especially when you think of, okay, we are going to have kids, and kids are going to see this.
That's a very good point. Some that these things that you post, you should keep in mind that they don't die. Even after hundreds years, when someone comes to the internet, they'll still find you in the nonsense that you were posting. So it's true, these things don't die. So I'll never post a video of myself dancing. You said people have been waiting.
Yeah, so what advice would you give, especially to women, not to twerk but to write?
Okay, so we won't really drag people to write, because maybe what if writing is not their passion? So the first thing that you have to ask yourself is, what type of content? So you want to create a page, and you want to be creating content. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what type of content do I want to create? And what kind of audience am I looking for? Am I looking for young people? Am I tagging elderly people? Am I tagging people in the mental health sector? So you need to ask yourself what kind of content you want to create, because it's what's going to give you direction. And of course, you also have to look around you. How are the people around you going to find your content? Like you've mentioned of, people creating content of just tweaking anyhow on social media. So I don't know, do they ever ask themselves what the people around them would think? So content creation, I think, is also all about, it also encircles where you come from, because it gives you a picture of where you're coming from, and obviously how you've grown up, because everybody can just come up and say, I'll just start dancing on social media, or just start twerking. So it's important to have goals before you go into content creation. There's a lot of content that you can create. Just now you talked about us having young people that are suffering with mental health issues. So instead of just dancing around on social media, why not sit down and think about the important issues that we have in the country? Like, we have people that are roaming around in the streets, and those people, maybe they need to hear some words that you would type on social media, or you would record in a video. Maybe it's your words that's going to heal them and change their lives. So I think it's very important for us to create content that's respectful. Like you've mentioned, you can even create, I've seen having pages of just sharing food recipes, and they're doing well. They'll just share food recipes, and then some people would be sharing inspirational quotes. They're giving us hope. When you're heartbroken, you listen to their you listen to better, like. And then we have writers that have some writers have TikTok accounts where they just recite their poems. There are these two ladies that I follow. I've just forgotten their names. One of them it should be Whitney Houston. Then the other one, I've forgotten her name. Every time I go on TikTok, I go to their accounts and just listen to their poems, and I find their poems interesting. So you can come up with content like that, at least respectful content as a woman. I think sometimes we don't realize that we are embarrassing ourselves with the things that we do on social media. So sometimes, of course, it would take the people around us to tell us, but what if those people around us don't tell us? So it's up to you to sit down and ask yourself, is this content that I'm creating even worth it? Yeah. Sometimes you might have followers and they're happy laughing with you, but okay, yes, they're laughing with you, but what if they laugh at you behind? They laugh with you on social media, but on the backside they laugh at ya vajama vena enchitofi avareshana vamunene avo. So sometimes it's important to ask yourself, is what I'm doing even worth it? Is it really helping someone out there? For me, I think whatever content we are creating should be about helping someone out there. Yeah, sometimes it might be about humor. There are funny contents that teach us. It might be funny, but we learn something out of it. So let it be funny, but we also learn something at the end of it all. And then, as a woman, if you are passionate about writing, so the best advice I would ever give to that person that's passionate about writing, and then she's been looking down on herself, is getting close. Get close to the people that are doing well. The problem we have around women is that we don't support ourselves. We are jealous of ourselves. So instead of getting close to someone who is doing better than you find that person to be a competition. You want to compete with her. For me, I don't do that. If you're doing if you're doing better than me, I want to get close to you and I want to learn from you, because I know that by getting close to you, I will get some skills. I'll learn something that I don't know. But if I look at you at a distance and all I'm seeing is jealousy, all I'm seeing is me wanting to be on top, and then I leave you down there, then we are not really helping ourselves as women. So this is why I always talk about women helping other women. Let's clap when another woman is making it, not us being jealous of one another woman has made it. No, who is she? We don't even know her. Like, she doesn't even deserve it. No, that other woman should have gotten whatever she got. So as women, let's learn to support each other. If another woman has made it, let's clap for her. Tomorrow it will be you. Imagine if you make it and then no one claps. You're going to feel bad. So let's learn to be there for one another and to also uplift each other. So if someone is doing better than you, you've seen a writer who is doing better than you, follow her. Follow her and learn from her. Don't even be shy. Just tell her, no, me, I would like to learn from you. I've seen you've been doing this, you've been doing that. Of course, sometimes people can be busy, but be persistent. Don't just talk to them once because they didn't respond and you withdraw. No, continue until one day she says, this person has been persistent. Let me give them an opportunity, and I just talk to them. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much, Doreen, for accepting to be our guest on the Underestimated Voices podcast. It's humbling to speak to. I think you are the second person that I've spoken to who is into writing.
No, thank you so much. I'm really humbled as well. You know, the one thing that I learned in writing, huh? So before I joined these writing spaces, I used to think my my poems were on point, whatever I was writing was on point. It's only after I joined these writing spaces, all these groups that I'm in, that's when I realized that I'm still learning and I still have a long way to go. So this is what I'm saying, that it's important to get close to people and to learn from other people, because when you're just on your own, you think you're doing well until you share with someone else and then she's like, no, this is not good enough. So sometimes you need a second eye. There's always somebody who knows better than you. There's always somebody who knows more than what you know. So that's why it's important to hang around, to be found in these spaces, especially in those spaces of that's in the area of your interest, because then you're going to learn and you're going to realize that, okay, I'm there, or I'm not there yet, or I'm getting there. So what's really helped me is me being open-minded. I'm open to feedback. So when people give you feedback concerning your work, don't think they are trying to be hard on you. They're just trying to help you to get better. Of course, sometimes it might feel bad when somebody tells you, that poem you sent to me. To me, it's not adding up. Can you just write another one? Of course, it will hurt, and you think like they're trying to be hard on you. But one day, you're going to find it worth it. I remember when I first shared my first poem for feedback in Support Zambian Literature. To me, I was like, they are going to find it interesting. And then I saw reactions. No, change this, change that. I was like, really? So then that's when I realized to say it's important to ask for feedback from other people. So don't just be self-centered and think that all is well with you. You have to get out of the closet and get into the spaces with people that are doing what you do. It's the same people that are going to help you get better. So that's my biggest advice to an upcoming writer. Get involved with people in the writing space. That way you improve your writing skills.
Okay, thank you so much. So, as a podcast, we will have space for anyone that you feel has got a story to tell, especially when it comes to writing and how their journey has been. We shall create a spot for such kind of people that come from you, so that we might also learn one or two things from them. Because the main focus of this podcast is to help people that feel unwanted or unworthy. I've been there a number of times, and I feel it is time for me to give a platform for also someone else to be heard, share their own stories.
Oh, you're doing amazing. What you're doing is
Thank you so
very
much.
good, and that is what the society needs. More of people that are doing what you're doing, because you're giving a space to people that are unable to speak out. But when they come out here, they're able to share their emotions, their views. Yeah. So thank you so much for this platform.
Doreen Mwenda, thank you so much for accepting being our first guest for 2025 and for season 3. Thank you so much, and I believe that you have inspired so many out there, and I hope someone who has listened to this episode is going to step up. You need to rise and shine. If you're a poet, an upcoming poet, don't feel shy. Write and connect. So as you grow, you need mentors, and I encourage you to follow Doreen Mwenda on her socials. If you are an upcoming poet or you are an established poet, you need to interact with the like-minded people. So thank you so much for everyone for tuning in and for listening to today's episode as we looked at finding worth in words with Doreen Mwenda, who is a creative writer.
All right. Thank you too. Thank you for the time.
And as I always say, be you, do you, and mind your own business. It doesn't hurt. Naka muntu anganika affairs che, it will pass. May God bless you. I've been your host, Wetsen. Bye bye. See you in the next episode.
Okay.